Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on August 21st, 2021 at approximately 7:44 a.m. PST. Well, it seems I've run into a little bit of a problem. So we're going back to sort of the beginning here, in a way. I've mentioned now let's start with literally the beginning. Okay, I returned for one reason: to spread one message to everybody in existence. Now, I do require and really do desire your help to do this. Okay, they say, oh, no man can change the world. Well, nobody can. Okay, not on their own. But working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. It is going to require the assistance of every one of you. So, what I'm asking is, if you like the video, if you like the message we're following that we're passing on, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the alert bell at the right hand side there, as that will let you know when the new videos come out. Now, the reason I said I'm looking and going back to the beginning in a way, the purpose of the goal long range of the video is to get to everybody. Okay, now I honestly don't know offhand how many subscribers I've got. Quite frankly, you can find that out by just looking me up on YouTube. If you've got questions in any topic, drop me a line, leave a comment on the video, or look at the list of contact points below the video and reach out to me on any one of them. I've had some great responses. I've gotten help from people. Thank you very much to those of you that have helped. Really appreciate it, and especially the people on spacedoutradio.com that really pushed me to start getting this message out in the first place. Okay, but here's one of the neat little things. One of the big goals that we've got, let me grab something here, it's up above. Okay, I'm a firm believer that writing messages to yourself, what some people call a dream board or just an affirmation, there's a lot of names for it. This is one of the goals the tools that I use. Okay, now you'll notice it says I have legally attained a minimum of $2,000 by this number. That number is August 31st, 2021 at 1 minute to midnight. Military time is 23:59. Now, yes, it's written backwards, and I will get back to that later. But that goal I attained right as soon as I wrote that down. I literally almost attained that goal within a few days. I have reached that goal. Another goal that I had written down, and I've been tracking it over here. And again, yeah, stop talking for a second. Welcome to my world. I should have grabbed these before. So, don't know if you can hear them or if you can hear it properly. If not, my apologies. Okay. This is one of the things that started it, was this little sign here. And as you can see, it says, I am worth it. Now, this is a sign that I built the old-fashioned way. Okay. I built this sign using a magnifying lens and the sun. Now, I'm not much of an artist. I've mentioned this before. But that's where the belief is stated best. Those four words are the most powerful combination I've ever come across this lifetime regarding self-esteem. Okay. Now, given that I spent my life basically feeling like an outcast amongst outcasts, and I'm sure there's many of you that do, I know most people I talk to, if they felt like they were an outcast, they were simply an outcast. They didn't fit in the whole 9 yards. I didn't even fit in with the people that didn't fit in. Okay, but then the other little goal that I use, or tool I use, is this. Now, I'm a bit of a dinosaur, but this little tool is an old-fashioned calendar. Many of you my age will recognize it. Okay, on it, I've been actually keeping track of what's been going on. Okay, as far as my own personal health goals go. Now, where are we here? As of this morning, as the first thing this morning, I checked my blood pressure and what have you. Now, the bad news to me was my weight had gone up a little. I'm at 209 pounds. Okay. I may not look like, many people say I don't look like I weigh that, but that's what it is. Okay, blood pressure was 108/67, which is a little lower than what I'd like, but I'll figure that one out. That may just be because I wake up and my blood pressure is normal, or down that low. In a couple hours, once I'm up for a bit, I'm going to check my blood pressure again, just to keep an eye on it. Okay, and of course my pulse when I woke up was only 81 beats. But again, that may have been just because when I wake up, everything is down. So in a couple hours, I'll test it again and see. The really important factor for me was I've told people I was aiming getting down to 180 pounds. Well, I seem to have hit a plateau, which I've been warned about before. But the really big thing that I was looking at is I used to wear, and I did say used to wear, a 38 waist. Okay. As of this morning, I comfortably put on a 36 waist. Okay. Now, I haven't been that small, okay, in probably 10 years. I certainly haven't weighed, well, I'm just about down to where I weighed. 10 years ago, I was 208 pounds. That was on an analog scale. So it may have been off a little. Okay, or I may not have gauged it right. But I'm now 209. The fact of the matter is, I'm comfortably into a 36 waist. I don't have to fight. I'm not going to aim for a 34. Way too long ago for that. Because I don't think I've been that way since I was in my teens. But I'm very happy with being at a 36. Also, yesterday, I set a goal that I'm going out to do some walking. Well, yesterday I walked 5 kilometers. About 2.5 miles-ish. Okay. So, the goals that I'm having to get my physical health in shape are actually working out quite nicely. Now I'll hang this stuff all up and put it back where it belongs afterwards. The other thing that I've been doing, where is it? Somewhere around here. No, not that one. Oh, there it is. I showed you this little figure that I had been painting. Okay, this little guy. Now, these are done with toothpicks. Okay. But here's another one that I've been working on. Okay, and again, these are just little things I do to sidetrack myself. Okay, to occupy time. Now, with that in mind, I have managed to I've just passed on the end of an epoch, which is the sequel to The Birth of the Wolfpack. Okay, Birth of the Wolfpack you can find listed below, or you can go to my Facebook page, Yldrbac, Yldrbac. Double check the spelling in the list of books that I've already got for sale available. And look it up on Facebook. Okay, or just look me up. You know, it works out either way. In any event, these are all little goals that I had in place for me. As you can see, using this funny little thing called a list. Okay, you can't read it, I realize that. But I've got a list of things I'm working on. You'll see a little check mark beside the ones that are done. That list is what is getting things out of the way for me. Okay, that's what's keeping me focused. And correcting all of this stuff is changing the energy around me. Okay, which is making my life, in my opinion, a whole lot more comfortable. Now, I woke up this morning at about 2 o'clock. Decided because of what was going on with my life, I stayed up quite intentionally until about 5 o'clock this morning. Went back, grabbed a couple more hours of sleep, which is why I've been up for, I don't know, maybe half an hour at this point. Okay, I could actually look that up if I wanted to, but it's just not that big of an import to me. But the important factor from your standpoint is that I am attaining these goals that I've mentioned are important. That I've said, these are what I'm aiming for. So I have got to them. And it's going to continue on that path. And yeah, this is what I was referring to. Now, I said I paint with toothbrushes, which I do. Fact of the matter is, I also paint with paint brushes. And because my hand is getting steadier, it's getting easier. And again, my hand, if you take a look at that bottle, if I relax the concentration, this is normal. Okay, but it's only the one hand. The other hand is fine. But because of that, because of the fact I've been working on it, I now have enough control over it that I can actually get some of this stuff done. Whoop, don't need that there. These are the little figures I was talking about. Of course, gotta take my glasses off or I can't see them. Again, these are just goals that I do. And yes, I could very easily ignore all that. I could wait until I'm after, but the point being, this is what I was referring to about starting at the beginning. This is a question of deciding I'm going to get something accomplished. I'm going to attain the goals that I've got. And by doing that, by focusing on these goals, by focusing on the things that I desire to attain and they're just for me, I'm not planning, I've got no delusions, if you will. I am not likely to become a phenomenal artist because it just doesn't have the interest for me. That said, I will do my best to continue improving my writing. Okay, and this is why I say, if you've got goals, it doesn't matter what they are. The question is whether you have goals. Now, one of the reasons I'm doing this is because, well, this actually kills 3 birds with 1 stone instead of just 2. Okay, because I came to the conclusion that I can carry on dealing with things. Now, when you pick a goal that you're aiming for, that you desire to attain, okay, when you do that and you start attaining the goals, what you'll find is you feel a whole lot better about you, about your goals, about changing the things in your life. Okay, this is just one of those many things that I'm working with. Because frankly, to my way of thinking, if I'm going to tell you, if you've got a goal, go and do it, then it only stands to reason that if I'm going to tell you I've got a goal, like I've got some clients. Okay, some clients will say, I'll give you a call back and let you know how far I've gone. Now that helps them, I presume it helps them to just report it. I know for me to come forward and say, look, these are some of the little goals that I've got to make my life more enjoyable, more effective in my opinion. If I'm going to tell you that it helps me, okay, and that it may help you, I don't know if it will. But if you have a goal that you think may help you, then absolutely look to it. Okay, the most difficult part in all of this is making certain that you do the things that feel right from your standpoint. Now, let me just take a look. Yes, that is leather. Again, these are just simply fantasy figures. Okay, now some of them I use for representative points. As far as the writing I do, I certainly use a lot of them in my gaming, in playing Dungeons and Dragons, that sort of thing. Now, people used to think that Dungeons and Dragons were evil. Okay, of course, in all fairness, people used to think that that glowing spot in the sky was evil. Okay, now for those of you that are still of the mindset that there's all sorts of evil things out there, I'll clue you in. There are. There's a staggering number of really dangerous things out there. And it is kind of extremely necessary to be cautious in today's world. In all fairness, it's been very necessary to be cautious in every world. Okay. It's no different today than it was 100 years ago. People still had to think. Well, I shouldn't say it's not different. Because quite frankly, from what I've seen, people either don't care to think enough as much as they used to, or they don't know how. And I'm not entirely certain which is what prompted a lot of the talking that I do, a lot of this whole, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of this whole pattern on the journey, to show you that by changing the way that your life is going, okay, by changing where you're putting your energy, you can change to the way your world is going. But it is up to you. I'm not suggesting that you paint these figures as a life goal. Okay. I mean, if that's what you desire to do, I've seen people that do phenomenal work with them. For me personally, I'm just not that interested. Okay. Do I enjoy doing it? Certainly. It takes my mind off a lot of the stresses and what have you that I'm going through. Okay, and yeah, trust me on it, just take my word for that one. There is a lot of it. But when you look at the way the world is, okay, what you have to realize is if you're going to change your world, it starts right here, right now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all who you are. Every entity in existence is in the same point right this moment. You're all right here, right now. But working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, there will always be exceptions in all likelihood. Okay. If you think about it, people change as they get older. If you don't believe people change, check and see if you're still wetting yourself at, 25, 30 years old. Now, I know there's some of you that probably do. Okay. More of you will end up doing that because you got way too drunk or way too high for your own good. Okay. But for the greater majority of people, you don't do that anymore. Okay. Did you used to? We can safely say yeah, because most kids are not born knowing how to use the washroom. Okay. Well, way too much shadow there, and it's going to take way too much focus, so I'm just going to put that aside for the moment. Put him up there just because he's out of the way. And where's the water go? There it is. Now, these are just some of the tools that I've used. And every one of the tools, by the way, if they apply to me, I'm using them. Okay. Doesn't matter who you follow. Okay. Doesn't matter who you turn to for a spiritual guide. Okay. Be they the leader, and be they the head of a, if you will, recognized mainstream religion in a church, a temple, be they a leader in a coven, be they the leader of a support group, it doesn't matter. If they're leading you and they're saying this is the path to walk, double check and make certain that the path that they're telling you to follow, they're following. Okay. Because every one of the tools that I use, okay, every tool I offer you, every path that I tell you, this is an option that can work. If it applies to me, I'm using it. That's just the way my life has always been. Am I likely to, am I going to tell you, go and do something, and I'll go do something else? No, I've only ever seen that done once in my life where it worked. My grade 8 typing teacher, he used to sit at the front of the class, stand at the front of the class. And he would hold his hands up and he'd go, okay, when you're typing, use all 10 fingers. And he would stand there while he was showing the class, and he would type with all 10 fingers. And he would repeatedly say, repetition is what works. That's how you train your body. Okay. And it's not fail-safe. You will fall off the wagon, you'll fall off the bike, you'll get lost on the road. It happens. The trick is get back on it. Okay. Even if you have to go back a few miles on the road to get back on the right path, do so. Don't get caught up in the panic of, oh, I'm such a failure, I lost. Okay, but this time, it's a good thing I brought this. This typing teacher would turn around and he'd do that in front of the class. Then when he was ready, when he was done his lesson, he was setting us to work, he'd take his and he had stubby little short-fingered hands. He'd take his hands, he'd ball them up like this, he'd go, do not do this. Because he had a bunch of work he had to type out for class, like for his job. He'd ball his fists up, and he'd go, do not do this when you're typing. Use all 10 fingers. Then he'd ball his fingers up again, he'd hold up his 2 fingers, and then he'd bend over his typewriter, and he would go, when he had his fingers spread, he would type at a whopping 10 words a minute. He was very slow at it, but he knew the pattern. Okay. And then he'd ball his little fists up, and he'd stick his little short fingers out, and he'd go, do not do this. And he'd stand there and he'd type with just the 2 fingers. And I tell you, the guy jumped from 10 words a minute to 40 words a minute. Right. And when he got done, if we were paying attention, he'd hold his hands back up, and he'd have his fingers like this. He goes, what I did, what I just typed, do not do that. Use all 10 fingers. Well, I'm a firm believer in that. Okay, from the standpoint of, I'm not going to tell you, like, he did it. He's the only person I've seen do it successfully. Okay, but it was his teaching that brought me up before my stroke to be able to type at 60 to 80 words a minute with all 10 fingers. Okay, I only made it to 60 on the manual. He was typing at 40 words a minute with 2 fingers on an old typewriter, on an old manual typewriter. Okay, I didn't get upwards of 80 until I had a computer keyboard or an electric keyboard I could work with. But that's not the problem. The thing is, when you've got a goal, I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. I do care, but it doesn't matter what the goal is. Doesn't matter how big a goal it may be. It is worth pursuing, providing you're following the 3 karmic laws. Be true to yourself. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Okay, if you're following those 3 karmic laws, absolutely go after your goals. Go after your dreams. If you desire to be an author, absolutely become an author. I'm now, like, I desired back in grade 8, or in grade 10, when I was 15 years old, I had a storyline I desired to put out. Well, here I am 58 years later. Now, granted, that's 43 years. Do yourself a favor and do your best not to wait that long. Okay, but I've got the first book out. The second one will be coming out later this fall if everything goes well. And since we're already over halfway through final edit, we should be able to make that goal without too terribly much trouble. Okay, now, have I met every goal I've set? Absolutely not. If I had, I'd already be under 200 pounds. But by changing the energy in your house and moving it in the direction you desire it to go, okay, because you cannot destroy energy. You change the direction, you can guide it, but you cannot destroy it. Even changing an atom from hydrogen to helium, which is only 1 electron difference, okay, even that can be done, but that's simply changing the form of the energy. It's not stopping it, it's not destroying it. So, correct the energy pattern in your house. Okay, if something doesn't feel right, alter it. Okay, I've got a lot of stuff on the go. I got up this morning, I was puttering, and then, well, I was up puttering in my office for like 4 hours or something like that. Well, no, 2 until 5, 3.5 hours anyway. Okay, I was puttering around for 3.5 hours, so my desk got a little odd, out of hand, if you will. However, because of that, I am at this point getting things moving in the right direction. And yeah, I realize I could sit here, I got told one day by somebody, if you're doing a video, there's got to be some sort of movement. Well, I'm not really great at doing the acting thing and what have you. I was involved in amateur theater when I was a kid, but I was involved in amateur theater as a stagehand, as in organizing the flow of the stage, making sure everything was where it belonged. Seems I'm still doing the same sort of thing. Okay. Now, with that in mind, that reminds me, I've got a couple of other posts I've got to do today because I'm a little behind in what I was aiming at. But again, another goal that I had, I've got artwork that is now coming out that will be going into the Races of the Worlds book. Okay, into those 2 volumes. Now, Races of the Worlds 1, the pictures that will be going into those. Okay, I've got the artist, they're all sorted around, and like I mentioned to the artist, I says, so I'm clear to use the pictures now. I says, let's be, to be clear, I have not shown anybody this artwork because I wanted to be certain. So he goes, absolutely. He goes, in point of fact, he says, you could have been doing it as soon as I sent you the letter of release. I didn't do anything with them until I had it totally paid for. Okay, so for those of you that are watching for the Races of the Worlds, I'm going to be putting some of the pictures that are going into the new books, or into the Races of the Worlds, the first volume, which won't be going into it for a while, because I want all of the pictures from the first volume ready to go, so that I can add them all before I put the second printing out. Okay, and I've got other pictures. I'm also putting pictures together for volume 2, which will come out as time goes on. Now, the way this works, okay, for me, I had that goal. I really desired that to get to there. Okay, and just give me half a second here. That was another one of those goals that I had that I have now attained. I've got an artist for the books, and I will be getting the artwork done. And as it gets done, hopefully, because I'm aiming for the Races of the Worlds Volume 2 to come out this fall. It may or may not have some of the pictures in it, depending on how many pictures I get done. Okay, I'm aiming for this fall, but Races of the Worlds is a second, my priority, where most of my work is being done right now, is on The End of an Epoch, which is the sequel to The Birth of the Wolfpack. But the point being, I had a goal to find an artist. Took me long enough, but I found one that is working. Okay, that I'm content with. I've got now. There are people out there that sent submissions in that unfortunately were not of the quality that I could work with. Okay, have I forgotten them? Not in the least. I'm going to be dealing with that. That's one of my other little goals that I have to deal with. Okay, because the fact of the matter is, I'm a very picky individual where it comes to certain aspects. And needless to say, my appearance isn't necessarily one of them. However, I came to the conclusion a long time ago that, that I really wasn't great where it came to fashion. I wasn't really great where it came to the fitness and the whole 9 yards. So as long as I was happy, as long as I was personally content, I was okay with it. I actually used to tell my parents, and for that matter, my ex-wife, that if they didn't like the color coordination I had, or they didn't like the style of what I was wearing, let's not look into dresses and what have you. I'm not wearing them. But where it came to what I was wearing, as far as the style or the color, if you didn't like it, point something out you did like. I really didn't care. Of course, growing up, I was colorblind. Might have had something to do with it. Okay. But I figure this, and I do encourage you to adopt the same philosophy. If you're content with you and you're following the 3 karmic laws, okay, do not let other people tell you that you're doing something that's wrong. You should be doing this. Should be doesn't work well. Should be usually falls under the category of, if somebody else is telling you. Should be usually falls under the category of they think that's what is the best road. Now, I keep these to a half-hour mark, and I'm getting a little long-winded, apparently. Anyway, that being said, again, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Okay, at some point. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.